I've tried to do it twice and have not succeeded. So hopefully the third time's a charm with this team. I mean, I guess I wasn't a part of it last year. So I guess I think the biggest thing is to treat every season as its own. I think there's a lot of time where you reflect on what worked last year and the way the league works. What worked last year is going to work this year. We were so close in 2017 to repeating. And it goes back to taking care of business. We lost both game fours. We won a championship with one. And the second one, we lost at Minnesota. And then again, being up 14 against Connecticut last year at home, blowing a 14-point lead. I think every game matters. And I'll go to the Jay-Z song, treat your first like your last and your last like your first. So you got to do that all year.
Thank you.
Michael? Weiss? Or not?
Hi,
Go ahead, Michael.
hi Candace. I'm the only one here who comes from Israel. And you know, Israel is the only country in the world that Anthony Parker is more famous than Candace Parker. So I have two questions, if it's okay. Many years ago, you said that he was your role model. How much did you influence you?
Well, Anthony is my big bro, and he's always been my hero growing up. To watch the way that he became professional, I think that's in 97 when he got drafted. Like, that's what made me start thinking about basketball in like a professional way. He still's my hero off the court right now. I mean, what he's doing in basketball, just in terms of being assistant GM in Orlando. And I know that there's bigger things, and, you know, he's going to be in the league in the front office position for a long time, but what he did overseas, I mean, that kind of challenged me to be able to go overseas and play and compete for EuroLeague championships. And he still reminds me that he has more EuroLeague championships than I do.
And a decade ago, you say that that in 10 years from now, you will be better than him. So this is true?
We're a competitive family. So I feel like now he tore his Achilles a couple months ago. So I feel like for sure I would beat him in a game of one-on-one. So yeah, I'm better.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Matthew?
Hey, Candace, I wanted to ask you, you've been around this group now 3 weeks. Is there anything about this team from a basketball standpoint or anything else that surprised you? I know you play with some of these players before and you've said, you know, the reads are similar, having played against them, but just something about this group that surprised you or you weren't expecting.
I mean, obviously it's young and very short into the season, but I think just in terms of like the camaraderie and the culture, I think is super important. Getting to know everybody. I mean, obviously I know Chelsea extremely well. I know Bay pretty well. But everybody else is pretty new to me. And so I think just understanding the culture and how, you don't take yourself too seriously. Like, we laugh at things that happen, in film. But we get better, and, we try to challenge one another and we hype each other up. And I think that that's fun for me to be a part of in my 16th season.
John?
Hey, Candace, back in 2021, you and Becky were both named to the WNBA 25th anniversary team. Could you have ever imagined 2 years later that you'd actually be playing for a fellow anniversary team member?
Listen, I leave everything open. I think it's unbelievable for us to have this full circle moment where I played against Becky, especially my rookie season coming in. I mean, she was that shifty 3-point shooting guard in San Antonio that actually beat us on a last second shot to go to the WNBA finals in 2008. She played with my wife on the Russian national team in 2012. She knows my brother very well because they, kind of were around the same age. And so I think it's just one of those full circle moments where you don't rule anything out and anything's possible. And I'm excited to be sitting here in an Aces jersey.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes. Hi, Candace. I actually had a pick and roll question from the Liberty game, if that's okay with you. Early in the third quarter, I think the Liberty went with double drag, and you had John Quell to start that possession. But as Sabrina came off that screen, you peeled out and took Brianna Stewart, and Asia kind of peeled behind you, took John Quell. What kind of goes into making those kind of live reads? Is that like a game plan thing or something you just saw and me just kind of jumped out there?
I think it was like late clock. So I think I jumped out just because of the time. But I think it's also offensively, it's finding out like and reading off of everybody else, but also defensively. I think that's a step that Becky has been loud and clear about wanting to take a step forward and not be average in the league defensively. Like we want to be great. And I think a lot of it comes with playing with one another and knowing, you know, when one wants to make plays and communicating. And so I think just me being decisive with what I wanted to do defensively and everybody else reacting.
And as a quick follow-up, what has the chemistry building process been like defensively since you've been here?
I think it's been good. I mean, you know, like anything, it takes work and takes effort. I think for me, the biggest thing is offensively and defensively. Like I haven't played basketball in 6 months, 7 months. So I think just coming in with people, some have played overseas, some haven't, you know, some are just like me, but not 37. So I think the biggest thing is just like having a little bit of grace, you know, with, you know, being a little bit rusty. And I think that comes on the defensive end. Like I'm going to make plays. I know I am. I know I'm going to make shots. So I think it's just trusting that and, you know, everybody else trusting that too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We got time for a couple more. Jennifer?
Hi, Jennifer Porty from Let's Talk Women in Basketball podcast. You mentioned that you and Becky competed against each other for years. So I wanted to know, what's it like having her as your coach? And also, what do you think you need to improve on in order to excel this season?
Well, I think Becky is a player's coach for sure. Her being able to play in the league for as long as she has been being a top 25 player, she understands the grind of being a WNBA player. And so I think she kind of brings that into the team. I mean, she's lighthearted, but she's going to coach you hard and she's going to coach you up. I think the biggest thing for us is defensively, I think rebounding, and then I think offense will take care of itself.
All right, we got time for one more before we go hit the $1 billion video screen behind me. Lindsay.
Thanks. Hi, Candace. You know, you've achieved so much in your playing career and even as an analyst. You know, what is your why for this season?
I think my why is, I love the game of basketball. That's always my why. I love playing basketball, and anytime there's a ball bouncing, I'm either playing or I'm watching. I'm a basketball fiend. It's always on in my house. I'm always watching old YouTube clips. My daughter was laughing at me because I was doing cardio in the off season and I was watching like an old game that I played in last year. She's like, "Mom, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm running and I needed to take my mind off of something." So I just think that my why has always been that I'm a competitor and I just love the game.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Candace. We will let you go as we switch over to some of the marketing stuff. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We will see you throughout the remainder of the regular season.
Hi, Maria. Miss you. Go Vols.
Start things off with Nathan.
Good afternoon, Kia. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself from when you first came in the league and until now? And then what are some of the things you worked on this off season to prepare for this season?
What I've learned. It's hard to make a team. It's hard to stay on a team. When I was drafted, I don't want to say naive, but, I just thought, yeah, I'm in New York. I'm about to be here forever. That obviously didn't happen. So you have to just be understanding and willing to just go kind of where the current takes you. And I'm really grateful that I landed in Vegas. Obviously have a great team, great staff. We won last year, so couldn't be happier with my decision. But yeah, it's just always just stay ready. You never know where you're going to be, what's going to happen. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned. And as far as this upcoming season, definitely had to push through some adversity overseas. It was a long season. It was tough, but just working on, being a better defender, just, knowing that's what I can bring to a team, then also just being ready to, answer when my name is called, especially on the offensive end.
Jose?
Yeah, thank you for doing this. Greatly appreciate you. A lot of championship pedigree on this team now, not only from the WNBA side, but from overseas with the roster that you ladies have now. The term and the word super team is now being thrown out there. How do you guys, how do you ladies stay focused to make sure you don't fit that narrative? What I mean by that, a lot of super teams haven't succeeded, right? We've seen issues because you bring in new faces. They say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. How do you ladies stay focused to continue that championship run and try to get a back-to-back this year?
Excuse me. We know that we won last year, so the target's going to be on our back. When Chicago won, everyone's like, we got to take down the champs, right? So we know going into the season, that's kind of going to be how they view us. So we just got to stay focused, be ready. We have a great core group, and I think adding the pieces we added is just going to enhance us. We've gone through a couple weeks of practice and training camp already. We're still trying to get a feel for everyone and trying to integrate everyone together, but I think we're doing pretty well so far. I think the whole super team notion, yeah, you could call us one, but honestly, I just think it goes to show that there's so many great players in our league that eventually every team's going to be a super team, if that's what you want to call it. I think that we just have people that really want to win, that are selfless, and that know what it takes to win a championship. And I think we just have to bring that every practice and every game until the end of the season.
Nikias?
Yes. Hi, Kia. Nice to speak with you again. I have two questions, if that's okay with you. First, as you've kind of entered veteran status in the W now, how do you generally approach development now? Is it about adding different things to your game, or is it about refining the skills that you already have?
A little bit of both. Obviously, it's no secret that I've never been, the biggest offensive threat. So for me, it's just more, honing in on those skills that I do have. I just haven't really shown them. It's just being more confident in what I can do on the court. So that's one thing. And what was your other question? Sorry.
Oh, so I haven't asked the second one yet. The second one was going to be you. You're all right. You mentioned like wanting to become a better defender and kind of working towards that. What specific areas are you keen on that front?
I just really want to be a rim protector. We have so many great offensive keys to this team that if I know that if I come in and I can be that defensive stopper, that's going to be great for me and going to allow me to continue to have minutes on this team. And I think that's one way that I can make sure that I'm on the court and just doing whatever I can to help my team. So if Asia doesn't have to take the best post player regarding, and I can handle that, it takes pressure off her so that she can, really get us a bucket when we need it, So I just want to make sure that I can, guard posts, guard guards, definitely not point guards. Let me not get crazy now, but just to be more versatile defender, to give Becky and the coaching staff more options in terms of our defensive schemes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, last one for you, Kia, before we let you go, Rafi.
This is Rafi, connected but that sports talk. Good to talk to you, Kia. I just want to ask you, the other day, what are your overall impressions about the New York Liberty, the way their roster is constructed when the Aces faced them in a preseason game, especially ever since you left there?
I'm sorry, say that again. You kind of cut out.
New York Liberty, just what it was like going up against them with that whole super team thing and the changes they made in the roster.
I knew New York was going to make some big moves, especially coming from the bubble when I was with them. The GM had told me a bunch of stuff about their ideas of what they want to go moving forward, and to see them actually make it happen, I think it's incredible for them. For us to have a preseason game, I think it's great. Everyone, is falling into the hype of these super teams going to play each other, but it's preseason. The game, of course, we're happy we won, but we're not settled. Like, we're not okay with that. We have so many things to improve on. We want to win. They want to win. I think it's just going to be great competition for us, like us in New York, but really everyone else in the league, because I think it shows that our league is growing, competition is getting better, teams are getting more competitive. And I think it just goes to show that there's a lot of teams that can and want to win a championship every year. And it's not going to be, top 4 teams and everyone else, is a wishy-washy. I think everyone has a legitimate chance to make a run in the playoffs.
And if I could just ask a follow-up question, the Aces will face the Seattle Storm to start off the season. Like, how good would it be to start off the season with a win against a team that you took out in the second round last year?
I think it's great. Who doesn't want to start the season with a win? But like I said, we have a target on our back. We know that every team is going to bring their best shot against us. So I think it's only going to help us. But to start off with a win, of course, we want that. We don't want to start with an L and a loss column. We want a W. So that's our focus. Just one game at a time. And we have the talent, we have the staff to do that.
Sydney, let us start things off with Lindsay.
Okay.
Hi, Sydney. First of all, is your swipe card to the practice facility still working?
We'll see. We'll see tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. And then second of all, for the preseason game over the weekend against the Liberty, what's your gauge on where your team is at versus where you need to be to repeat?
I don't even think we're necessarily looking at it like where we need, like, in order to repeat. Like, it's just a new season, trying to make sure that, you know, we're getting better day by day, improving during training camp. But I think that we saw a lot of good signs, like moving the ball well, getting everybody involved defensively. I think we did a good job communicating. That's been something that we've been harping on in training camp. The coaches just wanting us to be competitive in every drill, communicate, be physical. And so, yeah, I think we saw like a lot of good signs that we'll be able to, you know, take into practice tomorrow to just keep improving.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Sydney, can you talk a little bit about from a chemistry standpoint how important it is that with a team like this with so many stars that everybody has a role still, and just the number of veterans and even younger players I think are really mature players, how that works and you know, just your observation and also being a part of it.
I think that it's super helpful to have like a lot of players who will have like championship experience on teams, whether it's like in the pros or college, and just having an understanding of like the importance of roles on a team, like knowing them, accepting them, thriving in them. And I think that we have a lot of people, you know, fortunately for us, that have amazing offensive skill sets and like have the ability to do a lot, but people are willing to, you know, do what's best for the team. I think that's what made our team special last season, is that even though a lot of people are equipped to go out and score 20 plus points on any given night, you know, people always look to do what was best for the team. And we ended up winning that way. So I think when you have a group of people who understand that the team winning is the most important thing and not like individual stats, those teams tend to thrive. Yeah, so you know, and it helps that we all like each other. So you want to see one another do well. I think you can't underscore the importance of that on a team.
Thank you.
Jose?
Hey, Cindy, thank you again for doing this as always. I know in your 2 stints here, you've been
Jose, I didn't have a choice. I have to be here.
Hey, but you're here, so I appreciate you. But look, you've always been the hype person in the locker room, in the hallways, on the floor, all that. How have your new teammates adapted to your style of being loud, right? Because that's what you are, and not in a bad way, but you get everyone hyped, you break the ice. How have they adapted to your style?
You know, a lot of the team is the same from last year. So just like a couple new people there are also, you know, like energetic people. They like having fun, but competing. Like, I think that's the fun part for all of us. Like, that's what gets us excited and hyped up, is that we're trying to get one another better. And then we can finally play against another opponent. Like, it makes you excited that you can go beat up on somebody else. But yeah, like everybody is enjoying themselves. And like I said, when you have a team full of people that genuinely like each other, it's really easy to just bring that kind of energy, because you're not forcing anything. It's just naturally how y'all coexist together, you know.
Nikias?
Yes. Hi, Sydney. Nice to talk with you. A couple of questions, if that's okay with you. One, how do you approach your offseason? How do you approach development? Is it more so trying to add something new to your game, or is it about refining the skills that you already have?
I think it's both. Like for me, like the older I've gotten, and like sometimes I've had injuries or whatever the case might be. So when I'm in the off season, like there are some things that I don't love. Like I don't really love being in the weight room, but when I realize that like I need to strengthen something because I did have an injury, then like that's something that I'll go work on. And then on the court, you know, you just try to hone the things that or like keep doing the things that you do well, like work on them. But obviously, whatever your weaknesses are, you need to spend more time on those things. Yeah, so for me, it's just kind of like observing how the last season went, and then seeing like what I can do to improve.
Got you. And throughout your career, how has film watching changed for you throughout your career? Like, I think as a point guard, you have to know what you're doing, where everyone else is supposed to be. Like, what has that process been like for you, and how have you kind of grown that skill throughout your career?
Honestly, I don't think that it's changed a ton. Like, you study the film, like you watch it with a coach. I think it has helped over like the course of years to see like how quickly it can be broken down with like different like video services or like scouting services. So they can give you like, you want to watch something on your opponent, then you can have like 40 clips before the game of them running a certain play or like them being in a certain action or them making a certain move. So then you can figure out like how to stop that, or this is something that they really like, or just to observe yourself. I think it helps having different coaches at different levels, because you see like how people, you know, think differently. Some people view stuff differently and they can help you in different ways, offensively and defensively.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's do two more. Rafiq.
This is Rafiq with Nothing But That Sports Talk. Good to talk to you, Cindy.
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to ask you, with the additions of Candace Parker and Laser Clark joining your team, like how has practicing with them helped you develop yourself to be a very useful aspect to the Las Vegas Aces?
Yeah, I mean, they're veteran players with championship experience, coming in with a lot of leadership. They're very vocal players. And so for me, and I think for all of our team, it just helps to have people who are coming in and like seeing that we have a way that Las Vegas is trying to play, and like an MO, and they're figuring out how to become a part of that while still being themselves. And the energy that they bring, the leadership that they bring has been, you know, tremendous for me to watch, and I think for our younger players to see. And hopefully, you know, we just keep that kind of energy going, and it spills on to everybody else, and, you know, we all can learn from one another and get better.
Appreciate the insight. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, last question from inside the room. Sydney.
Yeah.
Every year, this time of year, cuts get made, and we talk about how we really need expansion.
Yeah.
Because so many talented players are having to be cut. You were a player who played in the league for a year, but then spent some time outside the league. What's your advice to maybe some of those players who started the first 2 years to play in the league, but fought our way back? What advice, if any, did you get when you were out of the league that first time? And what did you do to sort of keep motivated to get back into the WNBA?
If I'm being honest, I don't remember like a ton of the advice that I got, but my mindset was just that, like, I was young, I was not ready to move on to like the real world or like a regular job, and I still was very much competitive and wanting to play. And so I just didn't want to give up on a dream that I had, even though, you know, I got drafted my rookie year. I didn't play a ton. So for me, I'm like, I want to get back. Like, I really want to experience the league and be able to continue playing. So I just kept working, and sometimes like things just happen and stuff like falls in your favor, because my college coach ended up being good friends with Dan Hughes, and like I got a training camp contract. And so sometimes it's like you have to keep working while you're waiting for something to happen, because a lot of the times it is like people, you know, the luck of, you know, just like luck, some things can happen. Somebody knows somebody, you get an invite, but if I hadn't been working and then got that invite, I wouldn't have made it. So like, I think while you're somebody like me, while I'm praying and waiting for something to happen, you still have to work and hope that you're prepared by the time that an opportunity comes your way.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. We will let you go. And
Good luck.
I got two in there.
Hey, what? No, that's okay.
I do not. We'll send somebody.
That's okay. I mean, it's just a Zoom call. I'll have a bit of snot come out now.
All right. Well, first of all, we are with Kayla George and Kayla. Why don't you first introduce us to who you have there with you?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, this is my daughter Pearl, or in my American accent, Pearl. She's 7.5 months old, and she's excited to be here like her mother.
Excellent. So you had a couple of other seasons of the WNBA, Phoenix and Dallas. What's sort of different now about the league, or what's different about your experience now?
Yeah, I think the league or the game itself is forever evolving, and I feel like it's just getting better and better. And there's obviously, you know, it's the best. Thank you. Appreciate you. Sorry, a bit emotional today on media day. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think this is the toughest league in the world. So, the best players are here playing. And so it's exciting to be back. I think the Aces new training facility that you've all seen is super impressive. And I'm just really happy to be here and to be a part of that, setting the benchmark for where other teams, want to go.
Emma?
Yeah, thank you. Happy Mother's Day. One day late. I wanted to ask you about, you said, obviously you were away from the WNBA for a while. I think you talked about this on the last Zoom. How do you feel like the league has evolved even in the time since you first came into now? And how at this point does your game fit in with what this team needs?
Yeah, I think in terms of just the equality piece and just the women's game getting seen, I feel like that happens quite slowly, although we'd love it to happen faster, but I certainly see that there is progression on where the leagues come. So that's really a positive sign, but I feel like it is quite slow. That's not just in the league, that's everywhere all over the world. I feel like sometimes, the media can hype it up to, that the equality is like, it's the same or it's getting there. But I think that, the pace can be a little faster. That's, what we'd all love, the push to be a little quicker, but it can't be that way. It's gradual. And, we're just here grinding it out and pushing for better for the future, which is what it's about. And that's part of being a female athlete, the grind to be seen and to push for better for the future athletes coming through. And for me, coming back into the league, what I bring, I just turned 34 on May 1st. So I certainly haven't matured off court. I still act like I'm 24, but on court, I definitely feel like I've matured. I feel probably better now than I ever have in my entire career, physically and mentally. And I just won the WNBA MVP just recently this last season in Australia. And I just become a new mum. I had a 9-day-old heading to my first season as a mum, and she was giving me a lot of great perspective, and I played really free. And I'm happy to be here and give whatever I need to in whatever role that I have in this team, a red hot crack. And obviously quite a stacked team in my position in particular, or all across the board, but to be having, Candace as my teammate, Asia, getting to play with Kelsey and Chelsea is just unreal, phenomenal passes. So just, playing my bit and doing whatever is necessary. The standard Aussie way, just happy to be here, want to work hard, do what I need to do to help us win.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No dramas.
Matthew?
Hey, Kayla. So I just want to start with like the last 7 months been like the best 7 months of your life between having a kid, winning MVP, coming back to the league. Just what a whirlwind it's been. Like how that you just sort of handle all the emotions of the last year or so.
Yeah, I think it's probably closer to 2 years. Like I won the championship the year before with the Melbourne Boomers in Australia. And then I had the World Cup bronze medal. And then 9 days later, I got my daughter, and the lead up to getting my daughter and to prepare for the World Cup was a pretty cool time as well. And then obviously, like you just mentioned, the rest of it. So I feel like, as I said, having a child gives you great perspective on life, and, mentally, when you're just worried about yourself, it can be a little bit consuming at times, especially if you're an overthinker. And I think a lot of people are, in particular athletes, we're always our own harshest critic. But with a child, like I can't be concerned with all that stuff. I've got to, when's her next feed? I've got to change her nappy. I've got to put her to sleep, I get home from a bad game or whatever, and she's just smiling and just so happy to see me. So it certainly gives me great perspective, and having her in the crowd and is probably my favorite thing about being a mother. Just being out, having her watch my games is pretty incredible.
And then I just wanted to ask you, as you've sort of gone through the last 2 weeks, having played in the preseason game, how you feel like you're fitting in with this group, both from a basketball sense and in a chemistry sense.
Yeah, so I think chemistry wise, we're all sweet there. I'm a pretty jovial person, and just a bit of a larrikin. So I think this group's got great culture. So I'm just trying to add to that, because they obviously were quite successful last year. So Pearly thinks that too. So and in terms of on-court, like I feel like, I like to facilitate and, space the floor with my 3-point shooting. So, whatever Becky has me out there to do, I'm happy to do whatever role she needs me to do. But I think, just with being, like I said, 34 and a bit more mature, I see the game a little differently, and I'm probably not as hard on myself mentally. when it comes to games, which is, and I was really happy to play in the first game the other day, although I didn't hit a shot. I think I had one free throw, but it was nice to get on the board and get those nerves out and get the legs ticking over. So happy for the season to start this week and to see my fellow Aussies in Seattle.
Mr. Duncan.
Hi, Kayla. Nice to talk to you again. As you hit like veteran status across multiple leagues at this point, how do you approach your offseason? Or how do you approach development? Is it about adding something new to your game, or is it now more about refining the skills that you already have? I think it's certainly a little bit of both. For me, I think, I started doing reformer bed Pilates, and that was a real game changer for how I moved and how I felt in my body. And when you feel good, you play good, you look good, you feel good, you play good, as cliche as that sounds. So I feel like that has really played a big part in the last few years. I might just pass Pearly over, just 1 second. And so, sorry, what was the question again? Sorry, I just got a bit distracted. No, you're fine. In terms of how you handle your off season and I guess development in general, is
yeah,
it more about trying to add something to your game or refining what you already do and just trying to do that better?
Yeah, so definitely, I think 70% of it is trying to just refine and do the things I do well even better. And I feel like no matter how old I am or whatever level I get to, I still want to always be coached and get better. Although like I have had a lot of experience and I like to, help out younger ones, put them under my wing and talk it out. I definitely still want to learn and be coached. But I mean, I've tried to add some, little floaters to my game in the recent months before I came here. So I think I had a little floater at training the other day. So, I mean, ask the girls about it. It was pretty nice. I'm not sure it'll come out super frequently in this league, maybe when I go back home to Australia, but certainly not afraid to add any new things either, but definitely always sharpening up what I'm quite good at and wanting to get better at that. Always looking to get better, always.
Paul?
Thank you.
Do I? It's great that Paul's grown so much since I last saw her.
Oh, hey, Aussie, how are you?
Yeah, really good, really good. I think the last time I saw you was in Sydney when you were playing the Flames.
Yeah, right, would have been. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. First question I've got for you is, you, as you've said, you're the MVP for the WNBL. You're a clutch player and a natural leader. How do you find that your role is going to evolve in, like you said, a stacked team like you're in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I'm honestly so stoked to be here and to be back in the league. And I actually didn't ever see this for me once my last stint in the league happened. I was quite content with just doing my house renos and playing for the Cairns Dolphins in the NBL 1, and, teach. I was playing with my younger sister there, so that was kind of cool. I was quite content with life as it was kind of heading, and to get this opportunity, it was too silly to say no to. And I feel like I belong here. I don't feel like I'm an imposter at all, and I feel my role will be in typical Aussie fashion, whatever it needs to be to get the wins. Whether I'm playing 20 minutes one night, 5 minutes the next DNP another, I'm not really too sure how it's going to look. Becky has never coached me before. So we're just, I've been here 3 weeks now into training camp. I feel really good. But as I said, we've got a really stacked team. So, if Asia needs a quick breather or, whatever, if I'm just there waving a towel, cool, let's do this, let's win this thing. So again, just really happy to be here, represent, my country, my family, and obviously the Aces.
And also, you mentioned the game against Seattle. It's going to be a bit like old home week for you.
Yeah.
In that game with, Izzy, Sammy, and Jade up there as well.
Yeah, it was actually really great to see Sandy after the New York game. We went and had some dinner, which was lovely. We just rattled off about some Opal stuff and just had a big old catch up, and it was really nice just to see my fellow Aussie. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing Ezzy, Sammy, and Jado. Stoked for Jado to be on the roster, and she's still so young and got such a bright future ahead of her. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with those girls and giving them a big squeeze. We'll probably have dinner after the game, and yeah, I'm really hyped, and I'm the only Aussie here. So anytime I say anything, like it gets mocked back to me. Like I said banana the other day, so now it's banana everything. I'm like, do I sound like that? Or I said that I never have sweat towels. I don't like to take towels on the bench, and now they say never ever. I'm like, oh gosh. So it's fine though. I just don't have any other Aussies to I don't feel like I'm getting attacked or anything. It's fine. I can handle it. But my accent obviously is quite different over here. So no, it's great.
That's great. Have a great season.
Thank you, mate.
And looking forward to watching you play.
Appreciate you, mate. Good to see you.
Thanks.
We will let you head them off, having.
Thank you. I think Pearl's crying. Thanks, guys.
All right, we should be back with Sydney Colson momentarily, followed by Kelsey Plum, I believe.